Principal expels farmer's son. The next day, a billionaire's helicopter lands at his school. The sun rose over the small rural town of Marlow like any other day, quiet, unhurried, and draped in golden mist. In the heart of it stood a modest schoolhouse surrounded by farmlands that stretched for miles. In one of its creaky wooden classrooms, 14-year-old Jacob Miller sat quietly at the back, his clothes worn but clean, his notebooks frayed from years of reuse. His hands, calloused from early morning chores on his father's farm, gripped his pencil tightly as he scribbled down math problems. Jacob wasn't the loudest, the fastest, or the most confident. But he was kind. He often stayed behind to help clean the classroom. He shared his lunch, plain bread and apple slices, with anyone who forgot theirs. And he always wore a shy smile, even when his classmates teased him for smelling of hay or wearing patched-up shoes. But none of that mattered to Principal Harrow. The new principal, fresh out of a city job, was eager to clean up the school's image. He believed in appearances, shiny shoes, pressed collars, and discipline. So when Jacob missed 2 assignments in a row because he was helping his father during a sudden flood that threatened their crops, Harrow called him to the office. "You're falling behind, Miller," Harrow said sharply, tapping Jacob's report card. "This school cannot afford to carry dead weight." "I'm sorry, sir," Jacob replied softly. "The rain nearly destroyed our field. I stayed up all night helping my dad build the dikes. I'll catch up, I promise." But Harrow had already made up his mind. "You're dismissed from this school. Until further notice, you're expelled." Jacob's eyes welled up. He said nothing. Just nodded, picked up his backpack, and walked out. That night, at the dinner table, his father, Ethan Miller, a proud man with soil embedded in his palms, looked crushed. "We don't have much, son," he said, his voice rough. "But you're the best thing I've ever raised. They don't see that, but one day, they will." Jacob nodded, holding back tears. He believed his father, but right now, all he could feel was shame. The next morning, a strange sound shattered the usual silence over Marlow. Children pointed skyward as the thump-thump-thump of a helicopter echoed across the fields. Dust spiraled up from the schoolyard as the massive chopper descended right onto the football field. Teachers rushed out in confusion, phones raised, capturing video. Principal Harrow straightened his tie nervously, stepping forward. Out stepped a tall, silver-haired man in a sharp suit. 2 assistants followed behind, holding a briefcase and a leather-bound folder. The man removed his sunglasses and scanned the crowd. "I'm looking for Jacob Miller," he said clearly. There was stunned silence. "He doesn't go here anymore," Harrow finally stammered. "He was expelled yesterday for academic reasons." The man raised an eyebrow. "Expelled?" He turned to one of his assistants. "Get him here. Now." Within 20 minutes, a rusted old pickup truck rolled into the school parking lot. Ethan Miller stepped out first, followed by a confused and wide-eyed Jacob. The billionaire walked over, smiling warmly. "Jacob. I'm Henry Grayson. Do you remember me?" Jacob blinked. "No, sir. I don't think we've met." Grayson chuckled. 25 years ago, I was just another hungry kid like you. I broke into your granddad's apple orchard. Instead of calling the police, he gave me 2 apples and said, 'Kindness can grow anything.' I never forgot that." He crouched down to Jacob's eye level. "Last week, I read your scholarship essay. Your teacher submitted it to a national contest. It moved me deeply. The story of how you balanced school and farm, the values your father taught you, your dream of becoming an agricultural scientist. You wrote, 'If I can grow crops from dry soil, maybe I can grow hope too.' That line. Jacob, it reminded me of your grandfather." Grayson stood and faced the crowd. "This boy is exactly what the world needs more of. And yet, he was expelled." Principal Harrow looked like he might faint. Well, Grayson continued, I've purchased land to build a state-of-the-art science academy just 10 miles from here. Jacob, if you'll accept it, I'd like to offer you a full scholarship. Housing, tuition, everything covered. The crowd gasped. And Principal Harrow, Grayson added, turning sharply, you're relieved of your duties. Effective immediately. My foundation now funds 40% of this school's operating budget. I think it's time leadership reflected values like compassion and resilience. The stunned silence gave way to thunderous applause. Some teachers had tears in their eyes. Jacob's father stood speechless, his hand gripping his son's shoulder tightly. Jacob looked up at Grayson. Why are you doing this? Because kindness gave me my start, he said softly. And you're the kind of person who will pay it forward. 2 years later, Jacob stood on a stage, wearing a lab coat over his formal wear. At 16, he had just presented his first prototype of a solar-powered irrigation system designed for small farms. Reporters surrounded him, asking questions, but Jacob only cared about one thing, finding his father and pulling him up onto the stage. This man, he told the crowd, woke up at 4 a.m. for 20 years to give me a life with dignity. And he taught me something the world too often forgets, greatness doesn't always look like gold watches and glass towers. Sometimes, it smells like sweat and earth and comes wrapped in rough hands. The audience gave a standing ovation. Today, the story of Jacob Miller is shared in classrooms across America, not as a tale of wealth, but of worth. He didn't rise because he was rich or lucky. He rose because he held on to kindness when the world offered him none. Because he believed in the quiet power of doing right, even when no one was watching. And in the heart of Marlow, where crops sway and kids still ride rusty bikes to school, the old wooden building has been turned into a community learning center, with one plaque at the entrance. Kindness can grow anything.